For the next 30 days, I'm going to track my expenses every single day. I really don't know what I'm expecting out of this. I don't usually track my expenses. In fact, I haven't done it for over a year. I've also never kept a budget in my entire life. I kind of just rely on the habits I've built up during my life to keep things in check. Let's see how it goes. So today is the 30th of January, which is day number 1. I started off the day by going into the office for the first time after being on leave. So I withdrew some money to give to my mom, which is about $300. So that is the first expense of the day. Second one is I got a coffee to start off the day, which is $4.65. And then we got a team lunch and my split was $23. So that was the total spending for the day, which turns out to be $327.60 for day 1, which is pretty scary. So as you guys can see, I'm putting it on this spreadsheet and I'm really being a bit more mindful about this. Normally, this is like a normal spend for me. I normally do take out money, but when I'm putting it in the spreadsheet, I am feeling that it is more front of mind because normally I don't really put it. I just sort of spend it because I know it's normal expense. But I think this challenge is going to be interesting. So this was the first day and I've already spent more than I anticipated. Hopefully the rest of the month isn't as bad as this and it sort of just averages out fine. So today is day 2, which is a work from home day. So thankfully there were no expenses today, but yesterday there was an expense which I forgot to account for. So I'm gonna add that in and yeah, it's still not looking good. So it's the end of week 1 and I've ended up spending about $520, which is a lot more than I would have liked to. Before starting this, I thought the first week I would have spent maybe about $100, but 520 is definitely quite a lot. So next week I'm definitely going to try and cut down on a few things. So what I've noticed is that I'm not just spending on autopilot like I usually do. I'm being a bit more conscious of what I'm doing. So yeah, interesting observation. As you can see, most of my spending happened during the work week and Saturday and Sunday were basically no spend days, which is always good. So it is the middle of week 2 and I have done myself a favor and I haven't bought my daily coffee. Instead, I've used one of those instant packets and I've made my own instant coffee, which actually wasn't too bad. I still ended up buying lunch though, but I have managed to like sacrifice at least something. End of the work week for week 2 and this week has been a lot better than the previous week. I did manage to skip out on coffee twice this week, so yay for me, but I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference, but it's good to maybe try it out. So it is week 3 of this whole tracking journey. I forgot to record for last week, the wrap up, but on the weekend, a friend came over, a family friend, and we booked flights to Tasmania, and I completely did not expect that at all. I completely forgot about it. So that week was a very expensive week, ended up spending about $2,500, which of course he's going to reimburse me for half the flights for his family. So that is going to be minus $1,000. So ended up spending about $1,500 that week, which is absolutely nuts. And this whole tracking thing is not going the way that I expected. So at this point, I am halfway through this tracking experiment and I've already spent $2,150 so far, which is very, very unexpected. I guess that's what happens when you don't really budget. You don't realize that you have things coming up and big expenses coming up that you need to actually account for. I guess if I was actively looking at my accounts and tracking things, I would have definitely planned for it. But at the same time, I do have enough savings to cover this. But yeah, when you really write it down on a spreadsheet and you visualize the numbers, it does get a bit overwhelming. I'm really hoping that the next 2 weeks aren't as bad as the previous 2 weeks and I sort of keep these spendings in check. Because at this point, all this experiment has done is made my anxiety go up. Just kidding, I'm fine. The funny thing with the whole coffee thing is I've been making coffee by myself, which is saving me about $4 per coffee because the whole instant coffee thing costs about 50 cents. But you know, when you compare it to big expenses like this, these cutting back on small expenses literally doesn't even matter. It makes such a small difference that you're better off controlling the big expenses and going from there. That has been my biggest learning of this whole journey. But this week I've spent my usual lunch that I buy money on, that I spend money on, and then today I spent some money on some groceries and got a new haircut as well, so some more expenses, about $30 for today. So it is the end of the work week for week 3. Today is Friday and I've ended up spending about $260 so far. I don't anticipate spending too much this weekend, so it looks like for week 3 the expenses are going to be the lowest so far, and I'm glad that that's the case. The last 2 weeks have been just completely unexpected when it comes to expenses, so super glad for that. So today is the 26th of February, which is the end of week 4. Today is a Sunday, and this week I spent about $580, of which about $200, which I paid for other people, so we can minus that. So the total for this week is going to be around $350 or $360, somewhere around there, which, you know what, is not the best, but we'll have to go with it. Some good news though, I didn't have to pay for lunch this week on the Wednesday because my colleague and I went to see a client, and because it was a business meal, it was a work lunch. So basically work covered the entire meal. So that is some good news for this week. Wednesday was basically a zero spend day. So today is the 28th of February and it is officially the 30th day of this whole 30-day spending tracking journey. I've ended up spending, I think, about $3,100, which is definitely a lot higher than what I imagined. This definitely did not go to plan. I didn't think I'd be spending this much, but week after week, you know, some things just kept popping up and it all kind of hit at once. But yeah, not good at all. Now I should mention that I am living with my parents for context. But when I go deeper into these expenses, it turns out that about $1,100 was stuff like fixed expenses for groceries, fuel, public transport, ATM money, and miscellaneous. And $2,000 was discretionary things, stuff like subscriptions, eating out, coffees, and other things, which seems like a lot, but a lot of these expenses need to be sensitized or rationalized. Let me explain. $1,250 of the $2,000 of this expense is just flights for myself and the family, so of course this is not going to be a recurring expense moving forward, and I do expect to be reimbursed for some of this cost as well by the family members, so yeah, it's not too bad as it seems. And then $400 of that same $2,000 is booking for sports and sport-like activities, and the bulk of this won't be reoccurring every month as well. So if we were to take out these once-off expenses, which turns out to be $1,650, the actual expense turns out to be about $370. That's more like it. And of this $370, $350 is stuff like coffees that I buy when I go to work, lunch, occasional Uber Eats, and stuff like that, mostly eating out and dining. Now, yes, of course, I can cap this expense. I can cut out a lot of it and say cap it to $50 per week, which would still allow me to eat out, but then it would also save me $1,600 per year. I can also cut down on the daily coffees and save like 90% if I just solely start using these, but I really don't want to. I strongly don't want to. I only really want to use these when I'm super busy at work and I can't go down and buy coffee, so I can just get something really quick by using these. But apart from that, I don't want to. I know this channel focuses a lot on investing and managing your money well, but after a certain point, you have to be able to spend your money and actually find things that give you a lot of value and things that you really enjoy spending money on. Spending $5 on a coffee every single day is a waste of money if you only look at it in a strict monetary sense. But it's not about that. It's about going for a little walk with your colleagues, having a good time, having some chats, having some good banter, and drinking some proper, delicious coffee, and having a great start to your day. The daily lunch of 15 to 20 bucks can be expensive and you can make that at home, but the excitement that you get actually leading up to lunch at work, trying out different restaurants and places, having a good time with your colleagues, sitting down, having some laughter, having some banter, complaining about work, whatever it is, it's worth it. When I got my first corporate job, I would despise people that would go and buy coffee every single day, buy their daily lunch. What an absolute waste of money, I thought. But over time, as I started to get promotions and make more money than I did at my entry-level job, my outlook changed from a strict monetary sense to something that is about more than money. A quick disclaimer, I'm not saying that you need to be doing this. This is just about me and what I do. I've also got savings and I do invest as well, and I think a balance is extremely important, and the key word is balance. If you want to spend money on things like this, then you have to make sure that the savings and investing side is sorted out as well. It shouldn't be one without the other. There should be a balance. But that's just me. Let me know how you found this video, and let me know if you track your expenses as well and how it's been going for you.